for supporting or believing in justice, in what's right. And if you believe you're right, that's one thing. And if someone else believes they're right, that's another thing. I'm not here to argue the point. And in fact, somebody said to me, well, why'd you go to the rally? It's my choice. I can go to a rally if I want to. I can support people that are my friends if I want to. I can support causes that are important to my friends if I want to. Because I want to say this. Just like there's 7 million Tigrayans that are going through things, there's 100 million Ethiopians that are non-Tigrayan that are going through things. So I don't want to be attacked for my own personal beliefs on anything. I this forum to be open and have a conversation, and that's what I wanted to do. So this isn't about me.
Yeah. No one is questioning.
No, that's to all the people in the audience that's basically cursing me and all that stuff right now, calling me a clown, calling me this. I'm telling you right now, I do not support genocide. I don't. I never will. If I go to a rally because I support someone or because I support an ideology, there's something that I saw that was good there. Just like if I went to a rally that was for free Tigray, that I would choose to do that because I would see something in that rally that was important. That's it. I'm not going to be split where I have to choose one or the other. I can believe what I want to believe. And that's all that I'm saying. So I don't want to be attacked for how I feel or for anything like that. I'm here to have an open discussion. That's why I let everybody say their piece. And that's why I brought people on. Because trust me, if I went by all of the dissension and the negative things, I wouldn't have had the first discussion. And if I went by the negative things, I wouldn't have had this discussion. Because there was people on both sides telling me, don't. Just don't. But,
okay. A few things. So no one is going to attack you for taking whichever sides. It's your right. It's your right. You can do whatever. You're entitled to say and to do whatever you want. But the problem happens, for example, if you continue to go to pro-genocide protests, like they will have a different name. Of course, they're not going to call themselves pro-genocide because that's not palatable, right? They're going to say, oh, no more Western intervention, oh, pro-democracy, what have you. But as a grown-up man, as an intelligent person, you also have an obligation, to do your own independent research and find out what is this protest all about. And does it really go with my principles and with my values? And as an American, is it okay for me to go there? Because your presence will have an impact, whether you like it or not. Wherever we go, whatever we say has an impact. So I don't want to be associated with genocidal regimes. I don't want to be associated with anyone that advocates for the elimination and extermination of a political group, let alone an entire people. So that's what everyone is trying to say. So if you want to be a neutral person, if you want to be, the journalist that you're telling us that you are, and trying to listen both sides and expose your audience to, what actually is happening on the ground, then you ought to go to every protest so that your people can have an opportunity to learn facts from every angle and not only one narrative, right? But again, that is a personal choice you would have to make. And people would also, based on your actions, based on the things you say, they will also form their own opinion, right? But that's not important here. The most important thing here is the fact that our family members are suffering in the dark, and that for the past year plus, we have been calling for the war to stop, for the genocide to stop. This is despite the fact that our families are still being massacred. And yes, we think the way out of this is not war. The way out is an inclusive national dialogue that needs to happen in Ethiopia. So if you're pro-democracy, if you're against injustice and genocide, you would also join us in our advocacy and call for cessation of hostilities, for humanitarian access to be open, for the ethnic profiling to stop, for the suffering of innocent people to stop, and for people to be able to find a political settlement so that the suffering could end. That's it.
That's a great point. So when the Prime Minister called for a ceasefire in June of 2021, the TPLF didn't abide by it. They went and invaded the Amhara and Afar regions. Why not, if there's a political solution, why not agree to the ceasefire and stop the fighting and, I guess, come back to the political table?
Okay, see, that question by itself is a biased question, right? So as a journalist, what I believe the right way of asking it is reportedly, you know, the Ethiopian government has declared a ceasefire because it wasn't a ceasefire. I studied political science, right? And in science, for a ceasefire to be ceasefire, both warring parties should agree to it. It wasn't a ceasefire. It was a unilateral ceasefire that was waged by Abiy in order to hide the fact that his troops were defeated at the Battle of Alula. So it wasn't a ceasefire.
Okay.
And then to cover that up, he said, okay, I'm going to declare humanitarian ceasefire, a unilateral ceasefire.
So I have a question. Is there anything that Abiy Ahmed can do that doesn't seem like it's, you know, what did you call it? Unitarian?
Unilateral ceasefire.
Yeah, like it sounds like you believe he's a dictator. And it sounds like you believe that he's not in power the right way. He shouldn't be in power. So can he do anything can he do anything other than resign to bring, you know, I guess Tigrayans back to the table and stop
first of all,
it's illegitimate.
So he can lift the siege that he has put Tigray under for the past 5 months, that has made it impossible for humanitarian aid workers to enter into Tigray and provide life-saving food and medicine. Second of all, he can order his troops to withdraw from parts of Tigray that are still under their occupancy, Western Tigray. He can call Eritrean troops to withdraw from Tigray. They are still in the eastern part of Tigray committing war crimes. He can turn the lights on. He can turn the internet connection on. He can let Tigrayans to use the bank. These are some of the things he can do. But most importantly, he needs to resign. He needs to step down, and he needs to be taken to the International Court of Justice so that he can answer for all the war crimes and crimes against humanity that he facilitated and against the people of Tigray. But these are things that might change because the military advancement of TDF they're literally approaching Addis. So I don't know how the future is going to look like with Abiy Ahmed literally claiming to be going to the war front and TDF approaching to Addis.
Last question. Look, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to go. I'll just say this. The last question would be, if he's illegitimate, right? Then how do you get a legitimate leader?
What do you mean? How do you get a legitimate leader?
Like if he's, how do you reverse what was done? You know, the election in 2021. Him overstaying his power in 2018, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, he resigns. And whether he likes it or not, he's not going to last in power for that long because the Tigray Defense Forces and their allied forces from Oromia and other parts of Ethiopia are currently marching towards Addis. He might be overthrown, and after that, there will be a transitional government in Ethiopia. That transitional government, I hope, will facilitate an election so that the people of Ethiopia could have, you know, an opportunity to elect their legitimate leaders and decide whether they want to stay in Ethiopia or secede. So this is what's going to happen, in my opinion.
Do you want one Ethiopia where it's still Ethiopia, or do you want Ethiopia to disband and break up?
As I said, as a Tigrayan, I have a luxury because I'm here in the US. I'm not being tortured. I do have access to food and I live. But I am not on the ground. That question should be answered by those on the ground because they are the ones who have the constitutional right to decide on the future of the country.
Are you hearing anything from people back home? Like, what's the climate back home? Do they want to stay unified, or do they want to, I guess, secede and do their own thing?
So as we told you, there hasn't been communication, right? Because the Ethiopian government blocked the phone and internet. But whenever we get lucky and hear from our family, the first thing they cry for is food, medicine, for money, not whether to secede or not. People are literally dying of starvation in hundreds each day. So they don't have the luxury to talk about whether to become an independent country or not.
Understood. All right, we've gone for 2 hours. We're not going to get to the questions. There's too many questions. Over 105 questions. the panel. I'm not going to ask you 105 questions, so I think it's best that we shut it down.
Yeah. And thank you for taking the time. I believe almost everyone who's watching today is either from Tigray or from Ethiopia. But if there is anyone who's not from this too, and if you guys want to learn more about the Tigray genocide and find ways to help, please go visit omnatigray.org. It's a neutral advocacy group that was established in response to the ongoing genocide. So you will find ways that you can help. But please do not come to us with this both sidesism and whataboutism, because when you do that, what you're doing is inflict pain upon those who are at the receiving end of the genocide. But Dave, thank you so much for taking the time.
Simon,
and I into protests.
We'll see. We'll see. That's possible. It's a possibility. We'll see. Simon, I wanted to bring you back on because we lost you earlier. Any last words before?
Yeah,
I know a lot has been while you were gone, but.
Saying, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with politics. We spend about 2 hours, about 80% of it, we talked about politics, what TPLF is and what TPLF is not. Why, for the past, the hunger that is happening in Tigray, the massacre that is happening in Tigray, the people that are starving in Tigray don't even care, right? You asked Maza a question that was, do you think Tigrayans want to secede?
Yeah.
That is not a question that a Tigrayan would answer you right now, because they don't have a political question. Rather, they have a humanitarian question, which is food, medication. People are dying because of lack of insulin, as surprising it might be. People are losing life because of lack of simple medication.
Right.
And this is due to the siege that is imposed against them by the Tigrayan government. Okay. So that was not the time to discuss politics. I understand a lot of people are unhappy. A lot of people are have problem with TPLF and the TPLF ideology and all that stuff. Their problem with TPLF can be handled on the right time. This has nothing to do with politics. Stop for a second, for a minute, and think about what are people in Tigray going through. So what I would highly recommend to you, Dave, is I do understand and I see the interest trying to figure out what's going on, trying to resolve and try to help people.
Or at least inform.
Yes. But here's the thing. When you're misinformed and underinformed and you come up with statements like TPLF versus the Ethiopian government, or saying statements like this people and that people, it has implications. And it makes people emotional, especially to someone that have lost people, to someone that has lost a brother and a sister. Because again, as I said earlier, you're talking about political ideologies, political parties. What I'm talking about, losing a brother and a sister. So it's always good to balance that and try to figure out and say, hey, what is going on? How can we help? Have you lost someone? People are literally hungry right now. I really don't have the interest to talk about political ideologies at this point. Feed my people, and let's talk about TPLF. You don't like TPLF? Okay, I might not too. Who knows? Convince me.
Right.
But in order for me to give you that opportunity, first, feed my brother that is starving. Let's take food to them. Restoring communication should be the easiest thing. If you're accusing of the Tigrayan government committing atrocities and massacres and all that stuff, the easiest way to figure that out, communication. Restore communication and let the people speak. Why is that so hard for you to accept? Dave, as a single human being rational, like, let me ask you a question. Why would you want a disruption of communication?
I personally wouldn't.
See? So the problem with that is there's a certain group that want to oppress and suppress facts and evidences. I'm out here telling you, okay, I'm not denying all these accusations that you're bringing out. I want to know as well. And the way to do that is restoring the communication. Let the people speak. As simple as that. Who are you to say these people are going through this and I know best for them?
You know, Simon,
I wouldn't say that to my people.
Yeah, I want to jump in right quick. That's honestly the whole reason I did it. You know, I wanted people to come on to speak about what they know and what's going on and give their perspective. I tried to pick people that I thought on each side were who the people wanted to hear, you know. So for instance, a lot of people in my DMs were like, you know, hey, you need to talk to people from the opposition or from the Tigrayan perspective, or someone that is not necessarily pro Ethiopian government, you know, not necessarily pro TPLF, but you need to have another voice. You were one of them. I said, okay, cool. A lot of people suggested things and names came up, and the names that kept coming up, I reached out, and so I had them on today. I couldn't get everybody on. I literally have 12 requests to jump on right now. I got 102 questions. We didn't even get to the questions. The whole point of tonight was educate my audience, educate me. Let's get a different perspective. And so that's why it was the history. So I apologize if you felt like we didn't talk enough about the genocide, you know, and the lost lives. I can't, are you muted? I can't hear you. Are you muted? Nope, can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that by itself is a problem when you talk about that side and this side, right? Before talking about any sides, let's talk about the humanity. Let's talk about reconnecting. Let's talk about serving food. Let's talk about stopping the war that's happening right now. After that, we can talk about this side and that side, ideologies and all that stuff.
Got you.
Because for me, that is not a problem right now. Make sense? That is, by any means, is not a problem. I'm willing to listen to anybody that has a problem with TPLF and their problem. And I want to know and try to figure out if there is any problem. But before I do that, I want to make sure people back home are fed. I want to talk to my grandfather that I haven't spoke to for the past 1 year. It's been a year since I talked to him. I have uncles, cousins, brothers and sisters in Adigrat that I don't know if they're still alive or not. And people out here want me to talk about TPLF. How the hell can I not be emotional about this stuff?
Right.
So for them, it's about reports, what the government is saying, propaganda, political ideologies. For me, it's real life. It's life being lost. People suffering, women being raped. So it is a very touchy topic. And knowing that fact, Dave, the least that you could have done is trying to figure out things first before you attend a protest. I'm not saying you attending the protest is a bad thing. What I'm saying is, before you attended that protest, you should have known better. And attending that protest with questions would have been a better thing to do. Because I'm sure before you attended the protest, you never knew the facts that we're talking about today.
That's why I had the show. I never had the...
Exactly.
But yeah.
And especially as an independent journalist that believes in communication and making sure the voice of people are being heard, when you attend a protest, it has a huge implication. I do respect the fact that you took the time and energy to attend a protest that you believed is in the best interest of the majority of the Ethiopian people. But what would have been best is, instead of you just going and attending, do a simple research. Understand what Hermela stands for. When Captain Eritrea was telling you about Hermela, Hermela used to post about me on a daily basis. My idol, my hero, this and that.
Right. Well, I don't want to make it about her. I'm trying.
Same thing. I don't want to make it about that. But at the end of the day, it's becoming that. But that makes sense.
But the thing that I want to say is, you know, I feel like my personal political understanding or my personal political stance can be separate from what I do on this platform. That's all. It's just like if I go to a Black Lives Matter rally and I work for CNN or I work for MSNBC or I work for Fox News. If I'm there on my off time, that's what I do on my off time. But, and even having said that, this is my personal content, my personal podcast. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to take everything into consideration and I'm respecting what everybody's saying. But I hear what everyone is saying. That's all I want to say, because I know I can't convince anybody of anything in a 2-hour live. And some people are going to make assumptions about me regardless. Some people are going to put me in a box. So no matter what I say. So it's all good. I'm not going to defend myself, but I hear what you're saying. And, you know, my own beliefs will be my own beliefs.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the efforts.
Appreciate you, Simon. All right. So you guys, you've been watching Dave Life TV News. There's a lot of people I know that have things to say that want to come on board. It's been a long 2 hours. I think I kind of want to leave it here. I know that some people have points that they want to make. Let me see. I'll bring one person on because I contacted her earlier, and I'll let her say her piece really quick. There she is. So, hi there.
Oh, hey.
The reason I added you, tell me your name.
My name is Eden.
So, Eden, the reason I added you is because there were a few people that were suggested to come on the live. I had corresponded with certain people. You were one of them. So, I know you didn't get a chance to jump in. I definitely don't want to try to answer 105 questions. But, and I definitely don't want to feel like, you know, people are attacking me or questioning, you know, my own opinions or views. I'm being as unbiased as I can be by bringing people to the platform. So what do you want to share before you're going to be the last person. We're going to close it out.
Oh, no, it's fine. Like, I think my brother and sisters, they already did an amazing job. And I think that one thing I want to applaud you for is, despite your political view, despite your knowledge about the continent and your roots, you were able to bring in people and pretty much trying to get a perspective of what's going on. I do, however, disagree the fact that before I go anywhere, as any person, educated person, I will do my own due diligence and research. I do the same thing with my family members when they disagree with me. And it's not to point fingers, but the fact that you are curious enough to bring in people to talk about this, you deserve applaud and thank you. It doesn't have to be me, as long as there were people that were able to come to your platform and share their perspective and share the facts. That's more than enough. So the one thing I want to leave you with is just, even in the future, like, I mean, there was different genocides in this world that happened, right? Even in Africa. The Rwandan genocide is one of them. We say no more, but then this is happening now. And we're just, like, the international community is so slow to act on it. So when you see that no more movement going on, what are we saying no more to? Actually, no more genocide? Yeah, absolutely. No more to black on black crime? Yes, because it is still state sponsored.
I think it was also no more to United States or Western, you know, interference with Ethiopian politics. Like, let Ethiopia govern itself, right?
Correct. But Ethiopia is not governing itself. Ethiopia's government is inflicting hate and atrocity all over the country. So when you say no more, you should be actually saying no more to your country, no more to your government, a legitimate government, not to the United States. The United States actually has not done much in terms of, because there is international policy, right? There's the laws and regulations that they have to follow. So what they've been doing is they've been looking at it closely and saying, I think that we demand peace for the sake of humanity and human rights, but they actually have not even said what's happening is a genocide, because they're still trying to be susceptible and trying to be fair. But there's no fairness in killing people. You see it. You send your representatives to Ethiopia to negotiate with a man who has no understanding of, he wants to be the king of Africa. That's pretty much it, the king of Ethiopia, which makes no sense. Abiy Ahmed, exactly. And then you have Eritrea doing its own thing. So it's just, there's just too much in terms of, like, instead of going back and forwards about what side, there's one side saying this, that there's no side. At the end of the day, we have people dying in front of us, close to 1 million that was already exterminated, okay, because of this war. And then you have famine that we're not accounted for. So there's just too much at stake for us to be, like, debating about, you know, the political party and all that stuff. And you have other countries, even like Turkey, the UAE, the Russian, China, Somali, Eritrea, Ethiopian government, the Kenya, looking at Tigray and trying to destroy Tigray. Can you imagine that? These are outside forces. So if you want to talk about sovereignty and being governed by your own government, then why are outside forces and international countries coming in and actually destroying your economy and your country? That's it. It's just common sense, you know? It just needs...
Eden, I agree. And I want to just say, you listen, I advocate conversations, and that's the whole point of doing this.
Yeah.
But what I'm actually understanding from both sides, though, is that they want a resolution. And it's like, you know, it's enough talking. We've talked about it. Everybody has their perspective and opinion. And I've heard people today from the Tigrayan perspective and people from the other discussion, which I'll say the Ethiopian government or democratic Ethiopia, you know.
I would say the Amharan elite. That's how we identify them, and that's how they identify themselves, because they feel inferior and superior to every other race. Hence why you're saying, oh, this going back and forth. But I'll let them.
Right, and I don't want to argue, right? But I'll
yeah.
say this. I'll just say this. The Amharan elite, I've also heard Tigrayan elite. So I'm telling you what I'm hearing as, don't blame me. I'm saying what
I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
As an American, what I'm hearing is my Ethiopian brothers and sisters are infighting. Like, I'm hearing it's a mess and it's a problem. Now, I'm not making light of it because this has been going on for a while, right? But what I'm saying is, now I can see if I had Ethiopian roots, unless I have to look up my DNA chart. I don't think I might. I got that curly hair. I might. But I'll say this. As a Black American, and I'm hearing everything that's going on, it just really sounds like it's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot. And if I, as a podcast host with a platform, go to a rally